Success factor, breakthrough limiting beliefs. If as a manager you want to implement a change, you need to realize that beliefs drive behavior. In practice, this means that when people are convinced that something works, that belief positively influences the change. But if that belief is absent, it actually negatively affects behavior. In other words, the desired behavior is not displayed. An important part of breaking through that limiting belief is that as a manager, you first need to find out what it actually is. What exactly is that limiting belief? There are three important aspects to this. One, identify the thought pattern. How does this person think, and what does that actually mean for their belief? Two, ask questions so that the other person starts to realize that what they think is actually a subjective perception and not necessarily a fact. And three, make sure that the other person answers the question, do you want to change this? And these three aspects help you to ultimately break through that limitation. Perhaps the most important thing to make it work is the following. Make sure the other person takes an action so they immediately experience the success of applying it. To give an example, suppose, for instance, that as a manager you notice your colleague finds it difficult to call prospects to make an appointment. And you have a conversation with your colleague and ask them, so what do you find so difficult? What are you running into? And your colleague says, I find it really difficult to start that conversation. To use the first sentences of that conversation in such a way that it becomes a smooth conversation. Then he writes down 2 or 3 sentences, and after that you immediately call the prospect. And what will he experience? That because he practiced those sentences, he then uses them in the conversation, and the conversation goes quite smoothly. And the fact that the other person immediately experiences the success of applying it ensures that he will approach the next conversations with more confidence, more self-assurance, and in doing so, actually overcomes the limiting belief. If you, as a manager, start applying this, you will break through the limiting belief. Good luck.